Hey there, folks. Welcome back to the Overflow. My name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Baldwin, live from the Hatmobile.
Yes, Hatman is not with us, but he is still with us. So, we
with
just
us
can't see
as much as I can be, at the very least.
Yes. So, let's go ahead and get into... Basically, for those who don't know, the Overflow is basically the opportunity for people who did not get a question answered during the podcast to get their questions answered. Every week we do a Q&A, and this week we are going to have a pretty long Overflow probably, and but that's because a lot of people were donating, so we do appreciate that to get their questions answered, plus patrons and things like that. So we do appreciate you guys donating and giving, but now we can get to the other questions that people, missed out on because they're broke. So
we're not broke shaming you guys.
Yes.
Don't worry.
Exactly. We love everybody. It's so let's go ahead and get right into it. Hatman, as always, you get to choose what we're going to start with, politics or entertainment.
All right. I actually have a coin this time.
Okay.
Of course, you're not going to be able to see me flip it because I don't have a camera, so I don't really know if this counts or anything. But heads, politics, tails, entertainment. It is politics, heads. So
okay,
start with politics.
We got a really long question from Serena, stating her love for me. No, I'm kidding. But
this is the one that I talked about on the show proper and said, yeah, this will probably have to go to the Overflow because it's really long.
It is a really long one. So I'm going to try to read this as quickly as possible without being too much of a motor mouth. She says here, let me preface this by saying I lived in a far-left state. The state would put crazy eyes in office. Don't worry, it will make sense in a minute. I don't know if it's just me, but I've been noticing a lot of racism and sexism against white men in my area, specifically at home. My parents, who are avid viewers of fake news channels like CNN and the Young Turks, have begun believing in this anti-white narrative. When the new Halloween movie came out, my mother made a racist comment about Michael Myers as an entitled white male after I asked why she was so hell-bent why he was so hell-bent on killing Laurie Strode. When I called her out on being racist, she brushed it off. As you would guess, they have now come to believe black people can't be racist, as shown when I made a jab at India's lack of sanitary practices and hygiene. My mother said it was racist, but got confused on whether the term racist was appropriate given my race. The same thing happened today when I made a comment about a person from a reality TV show getting a job for an obvious falsified resume. She blamed it on white privilege. Same goes for my father. He constantly watches CNN and the Young Turks, takes their truth, let's say their statements as gospel. There is no your truth. But he was one of the few people that believed in the Russia conspiracy theory and believed that Mueller report would kick Trump out of office. Both of them want to do away with the Electoral College because their favorite person didn't win the 2016 election, not realizing that it'll screw over middle America. Both of my parents believe in the black victimhood narrative. A lot of black people that I used to respect, like Trey Melvin and Corey Coleman from Double Toasted, have become vehement in their racism against white people. That's part of the reason I unsubscribed from them. And it's causing me to become disillusioned with the black community since it's become so toxic. This is coming from a black woman. I tried refuting my parents' ideas with logic and evidence, but I just get called a coon or an Uncle Tom. My family has even tried to force me to adopt this racist and defeated mindset. Is there any way to combat this mentality and victimhood mentality in the black community? Because I'm now beginning to think that there's no help left in the black community and have started to look into areas with less black people in it. I don't want to think this way, but I can't take this mentality blacks have adopted anymore. I'm genuinely starting to develop a negative opinion of black people. Sorry for the long email. That's not a bad question to ask. I think this is one that Candace Owens has taken to heart, and I watched part of her testimony in front of the House today, and a lot of the things that she said were very powerful, and I'm starting to think she does believe what she says. I was really wary of her at first, and now I am starting to think that she has turned a new leaf.
Yeah,
plus,
especially after the social autopsy thing. Good Lord.
Yeah, and I am of the belief, and I've heard this from friends of friends of friends. So like I am the actual Kevin Bacon of the internet. Fuck Jeff Holiday. I know people who know Shapiro and that crowd, and from what I have heard, she is pretty freaking genuine in what she believes. She's still learning about conservatism, but the big thing that I'm seeing among black people, such as yourself, Serena, is wanting to shed that narrative because they are realizing it didn't get them anywhere. There's part of this is going on in Chicago too, and it's a lot of people. Like I mentioned, I don't live in Chicago anymore. I'm considered a Chicagoan. One thing that I find among a lot of black people here in the city I live in is I will tell them I'm originally from around the Chicago Heights area, and we'll have this long conversation. And then part of that conversation is why they left and why they're doing so much better where they are now. It's because they left that narrative behind and they came here to an area that, admittedly, you have to work to live in. You know, you can't be a bum in this town because there's no safety net here. You know, it's
right.
it's unless you're part of a church or some community, which is traditionally how it was. I live in a very conservative area. So at the end of the day, one thing that is true of all children, and this is a universal thing, is that we leave our parents and we venture out on our own. And sometimes it's done in all different ways. For some people, it is moving out at a young age like I did and just being an independent person. For some people, they move out of a mentality. And what you're experiencing is moving out of that mentality. You know, in a way, I did that with my mother. You know, my mom is super conservative when it comes to religious beliefs and government. I am considerably less so in regards to government and church and separation of the two. It is I'm considerably less pious than some members of my family are. Not that I'm dissing them or anything. I love them very deeply, but everybody's got character flaws. But back to the topic at hand, I think that's what you're experiencing, Serena. I think that you're just experiencing you see the world very differently than they do, and you have realized that victimhood doesn't really get you anywhere. It is stagnation. It is something that keeps you set in your ways. I think that because of the situation you're in, it's going to feel like all black people have that belief. In the same sense that, like, when I lived in southern Illinois, it kind of felt like every white person I met was a closed-minded moron, you know, but that's not really the case. I've, you know, lived in different areas, and, you know, whenever you're in the middle of it, it feels like the whole world is that. I can tell you that the whole world isn't. So what I would just say is that keep in mind that it's a good thing that you have a different mentality. It's a good thing that you want to be more than what you are, and more than, you know, some sort of victim status. You don't want to be the black girl. You want to be Serena. That's a good thing. I don't want to be the white guy. I want to be Micah, you know, and that is what really matters, is who you are as a person, and that you don't want to be a victim. You want to be seen as an individual with individual rights, with individual sovereignty that should be respected, and that you understand that you are the master of your own world, in a sense. You are the master of your own fate, and that any home you have will be your castle, any property you own will be your chariot, you know, and it is an awesome feeling. And if they don't want to have that feeling, it's their loss and it's your gain. So love them. They're your parents. You should always love them, and be respectful to them, but at the same time realize that you're just going to have to walk your own path, and hopefully someday you will get out, you'll meet a good man, probably not me, but I'm not that good of a guy, but you'll meet yourself a good man, or if you're not into men, a good lady, and you'll succeed in life, and then people will look at you and they'll say, or they'll have to reconsider the mistakes that they've made. So, and if you aren't a chubby white guys, I'm available. No, I'm kidding. Kidding. Totally kidding. But
oh my lord.
But I hopefully that answers your question. Just keep your chin up, and you know, you have the right idea in how the world actually is, and that's the good thing. And you have a mentality that is the same mentality of people who succeed in life. Nobody succeeds constantly thinking they're a victim. And that success is very short-lived, and it wanes unless you have the right friends. You know, don't let somebody like Renfamous or Zoe Quinn, who sucked 37 dicks, to get where
In a
she's
row?
at. In a row. But I was so happy somebody caught that on Twitter earlier. But yeah, you have the right mentality to succeed in life, and that's what matters. So God bless you, seriously, and thank you for being a part of this community too.
I'll just say this: you're not alone. One friend in particular of mine that I go and watch movies with almost every week feels very, very similarly, though he does not have the familial background like you do. He is still exposed to a lot of the same stuff within, his circles, and it's pretty much jaded him at this point, to the point where he's like, I hate the fact that I can't even watch a movie now without it being political in some way. Like Black Panther, for example. He's like, just the act of me as a black dude going to see Black Panther is politicized. Why? That doesn't make any sense. So you're not alone. There are others out there that hold the same sort of sentiments.
Yeah. And not just people your age too. There's older black folk that I know that think back to the days of Dr. King, and they're like, we wanted to be the same as everybody else, and now you're wanting to be, treated like children. That's not what I wanted. That's not what I fought for. It is that same mentality, and it, and here's the other thing. It's not a black only thing. White people are like that too. Go to a trailer park. I lived in one. I've been poor. There are some people who are more than happy to wallow in their shit and take home a government check every month and do nothing. I know people who I went to high school with who were like that, and then I also knew people in high school who grew up like that and were disgusted by it, and they went, and maybe they weren't, they're not insurance adjusters like I am, but they're welders or mechanics, both of which are very well paying jobs, and they made themselves that now they've got kids of their own and they're doing really well. So it's not just skin color. It is I think it's a human nature thing, is that apathy is a killer for humans. If you think about it, we're the only creature that really can be apathetic in a sense. And I think that the fact that we can experience it is also, a detriment to us. If it's something that if we sit there, we become sedentary, and then we get worse, and we get more unhealthy, and we eventually die. So, all right, great question though. Let's go ahead and get to the other ones. Swordsman 100 says, with other lefty countries like Australia creating laws demanding U.S. companies like YouTube censor themselves, could and should Trump step in and stop them? Well, we can't interfere in how companies in the United States decide to do business with other companies.
Yeah.
I think that it comes down to the question, and we've had to answer this before, is what can the United States do to preserve the tradition of free speech? And that is generally a very hairy question, because there's a lot of slippery slopes that you could go down that could end up tyrannical if you're not careful. So I don't have an answer.
What was it? Was it ICANN that Obama signed over to the UN?
Yes.
During his administration?
Yes.
That was a major blow. That if we had held on to that, then we would at least have a foot in the door for preserving the freedom of expression online.
Yes.
And
there's no reason that the internet should have been globalized like that.
Absolutely not. And now you've got, what the hell is it in the UK that they're proposing this? Basically like China's social credit system, but limited to social media?
It's
holy shit.
Fucking Orwellian.
Yeah. It's, oh my God. Yeah. I don't really have much of an answer either, except fight back in whatever ways you can.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's.
Of course, gab, dissenter, all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. There are free market solutions.
Yep.
And we'll see how we'll have to see how the market plays. If and we'll have to see how things go. Remember, we're not defenseless. We
are not defenseless.
We're gonna make a shirt that says that. I mean, come on. But let's move on. Melee Brawler wants to know what are our thoughts on Chris Evans making a politics website that explores both sides of political issues. That I'm not quite sure will ever happen. Chris Evans being a very leftist individual.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what type of conservative he would bring on there. Is he thinking someone like a John Nolte, or is he or a Andrew Klavan, or a we already know he doesn't like Ben Shapiro.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how that's gonna work. It's a good sentiment, but I don't see it going well.
Yeah, there's so many different degrees that you could go with it. So many ways that it could go wrong too. Like, are all the conservatives that you will feature there anti-Trump conservatives, for example?
So because you got to keep in mind, Bill Kristol says he's a conservative.
Yeah.
Dave Frum says he says he's a conservative. Yeah. And they constantly bash Trump, and they very, very rarely promote actual conservatism.
Yeah.
So, it's a not something I really see happening. I think it'll probably just end up being another Huffington Post.
Certainly seems
where they have maybe a token conservative who in 5 years from now gets hired at Fox News.
Or maybe the New York Times opinion section.
Yeah, well, I was thinking how Greg Gutfield made his bones. It's on the Huffington Post. A lot of people don't know that.
See, I'm thinking of of course I forget his fucking name. Or no, Barry Weiss.
Yeah.
I believe she writes for the opinion section. It's like every single time she puts something out, it gets blasted by lefty Twitter.
Oh yeah.
Jesus Christ! But what do you expect? I don't expect anything from this thing that Chris Evans is proposing.
Mm-hmm. I don't either. All right,
I don't expect anything. I'll still be disappointed.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Kale Bach wants to know thoughts on defense attorneys. Tend to look at them with distrust, but after this Vic thing, bumping into Nick Rekida's channel, I've grown to respect them. Here's the thing about lawyers. They got a raw deal when it comes to popular culture.
Yep.
Lawyers and dads get it worse than anybody.
Yep.
Because every dad has to be Homer Simpson. Every lawyer has to be a crooked-nosed Jew.
Mm-hmm.
And I shit you not, a lot of times they're Jews. And it's a little disturbing. Now, I understand there's a lot of Jewish lawyers out there, which... Getting into the whole thing of why so many Jewish people pursue banking and lawyering and doctors and things like that, that's a cultural thing. It's a whole nother... Somebody asked the question at some point, and I'll answer it because I have several Jewish friends. And I've interacted, I've been to bat mitzvahs and other, stuff like that. Not Jewish myself, even though my first name is Hebrew, but it was something in college where I was interested in, was learning more about the Jewish faith, and I studied it quite a bit, so I got to know a couple rabbis and stuff like that. So, but anyway, with lawyers, I have interacted with quite a few in my job. The interactions are all over the place, and there are different types of lawyers, defense attorneys, property lawyers, so on and so forth, medical lawyers, medical attorneys, stuff like that. And a lot of the ones that I mostly interact with are medical attorneys or property, and they each serve a different purpose. When it comes to defense attorneys, I do think they get a bad rep because, they can... The role of the defense attorney is to defend. Now, that can mean somebody who is completely fucking innocent, and we tend to forget that because Law and Order exists. And I don't mean the actual Law and Order, I mean the show. Because I can't think of a single show that made defense attorneys out to be bigger weasels than Law and Order, aside from Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
So I think that attorneys are it's a good job to have. I was thinking about becoming one myself at one point. Hatman can attest to it.
Yep.
That was my plan a couple of years ago, was to move to North Carolina in my security job and go back to school and get into law at Duke, which I have no doubt I could have done. But right now it just doesn't pay to get to that point. So anyway, point being, no, I think lawyers are good. I think that we need them as a society because it's very difficult to navigate the courts by yourself. So
yeah, it's certainly a daunting task. The best lawyers that I've met have been public defenders. The worst ones were in family law.
Yeah, family law is pretty nasty.
It's messy by nature. So I guess it attracts messy sorts of people. Or maybe they're just really jaded, or maybe they are doing it as a form of revenge in their own lives.
That other sociopaths.
But, well.
Yeah, some of the ones, like the lawyer I had to deal with from my ex-wife, like he seemed completely disinterested in what was going on. You could tell he thought my then wife was an idiot. You know, like it was bad. But he was being paid by scumbags. You know, what are you going to do? It's a job.
Yeah.
Sometimes you take on clients you don't like. And it's not, you just deal with them and you get it out of the way because their money is as green as everyone else's.
Yep, you got to eat somehow.
Yeah. Now, if you are morally repulsed by them, you do have the option of not doing business.
Yeah, of course.
So.
But at the same time, if that's business and you need business, then
you'll do it. So. All right, let's continue. Inso Mafioso says, why do these far lefties on Twitter get so many likes? Is it a biased algorithm or is it mostly full of far lefties? Yes. The answer is yes.
Biased algorithm, and also look into Share Blue and Media Matters and David Brock. They're all related. It goes back to basically establishing a left-wing presence on social media. Hillary Clinton famously paid out like $1 million or more. I believe it was $1 million. It might have been more. Specifically for an online army to, quote, correct the record.
Yes. For
her. And with the Share Blue and David Brock's ventures, that has grown exponentially. A lot of the hashtags, like the most recent one I remember was I Stand With Schiff, are manufactured as a result of these, what do I want to call them, trend farms? I don't know.
That's a good way to put it.
But yeah, they're manufactured. There is not as big of a presence there as you would think, but because of Twitter's algorithms to promote tweets that get the most attention, you see them more often. And because they know the game, they can get something to trend instantly. So, yeah, that.
There's also a lot of Reddit mods that are paid by ShareBlue.
Oh, I can tell you some stories.
Well, they've tried to invade KIA before, haven't they?
Not the mods, no.
But ShareBlue posters.
Yes, the brigades have certainly happened. But no, as far as the mods, and I'm talking like the mods of the large subreddits, like the former default subreddits, there's some things that I'm not supposed to say, else I will lose access to those back rooms. But there's way more truth to the things that people say about those mods than you could ever believe. That, and I'm honestly surprised that the admins have not shut down the Donald yet.
Yeah, I am too. Let's see here. Viatov Raman wants to know, what are our thoughts on the lefties trying to add gender expression to the Civil Rights Act? Won't happen.
No, I think it will happen, actually. I think it's only a matter of time.
Really?
That's something it's actually something that shocked me. Seeing like those sorts of statements for employers and colleges and whatnot. Gender identity and expression was not something that was used until very, very recently, but that is not in the language of the Civil Rights Act. So I feel like, yeah, because trans issues or trans rights are now the big civil rights topic right now, it is a matter of time, only a matter of time, before that gets added into the Civil Rights Act.
I honestly hope not. Just because the problem is that I think that the big issue that I have had with the transgender thing is that people who are in that group are constantly moving for speech control.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. The debate that needs to happen but is being very, very openly advocated against under the whole TERF and true scum ideology is, can you be trans without gender dysphoria? That is the debate that needs to be settled first before we even get into this talk about identity and expression and whether or not you can use the bathroom that your identity or expression conforms to. That debate needs to be settled first. Otherwise, it's going to be a shit show all the way around.
I generally think that it's going to end up in another cultural backlash.
Yeah,
because here is the
that's
fact,
going to happen.
And this is something that any ladies in the audience can tell you. The last thing that a lady wants to see in a bathroom that is a women's bathroom is a cock.
This ain't a porno, guys.
Well,
this ain't a fucking porno.
Let's be honest about something. I'm using a strong and a double entendre, but let's be honest about something for that. Like, imagine your mother or your little sister. The last thing you want them, because bathrooms are vulnerable places. The last thing you want is someone who is bigger and stronger and not another woman in there with them when they are vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And inevitably, this is a losing fight for the Democrats long run, and for lefties in general. If they continue, because I've noticed that the transgender thing isn't being pushed as hard as it was 2 years ago. But if they push it again, it's gonna be like, all right, we're bucking against reality here, and people are gonna get pissed off at it, and for good reason. All right, let's move on. Because we got a lot to still get to. Brian Gilmartin says, what are our thoughts on the Save James campaign involving the boy whose mother is trying to force her son to be a girl, denying the father his parental rights? I think that the mother is insane and should be locked up for child abuse. It's a child. Children don't know shit. Even if the kid did think he was the opposite gender. He's a kid. He doesn't know shit.
Yep. Default to the Ghostbusters. Kids know dick.
Pretty much. But that's not even the case here. Like, he doesn't think he's a girl. That's the crazy part of it. She wants him to be one. She's crazy. She's a crazy person. She should not have that child.
Yeah. Another consequence of the trans rights debate.
Yeah,
this nonsense.
Yeah, that is, trans trending is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you make gender a fluid thing, which it is not, you try to make it that societally, then all of a sudden, people who are not right in the head are going to have the excuse to not face their issues.
Mm-hmm.
This lady clearly wanted a daughter. Didn't get one. very upset about that. Mentally ill, most likely. Should probably be in therapy. Now she should be in jail. Alright, Mr. Who wants to know thoughts on Attorney General Bill Barr and his handling of the Mueller report. Handling's been fine. I mean, he's saying that, you know, it's going to be out next week, the redacted version.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's not hiding anything. It's even looking like there's going to be, according to Devin Nunes, who apparently has already seen it, there will be people that were a part of the investigation that are going to be arrested.
Oh.
For lying to Congress.
Oh.
And I think we already know who one of them is. It's a certain smug cunt.
Hmm. Huh.
Maybe he's getting thunder struck. Fuck him. That dude looked like fucking Hannibal Lecter. Fuck him. Jew! And I hit the Jew button on accident. Oh, I did it again. Oops. Alright. Eclectic wants to know, is Mexico considered a third world country, and if so, why, despite being rich in resources, that makes nations into superpowers? Corrupt government.
Yep. The cartels are basically running the joint.
Yep.
And if you're not doing anything to stop them, what good are you? And of course, you know, a lot of public officials, you know, government, police, etc., are in with them. So it's unfortunate, and that shit needs to change. But I don't know what to do about it. I mean, it's honestly, it's no wonder people are fleeing the country in droves. But you can't just say, you know, fuck them. Well, you know, that's America's problem now. Like, get your shit in order, and people won't be leaving.
Exactly. Nobody's trying to flee into a socialist country.
Yeah. But regardless, I don't think Mexico counts as a third world country, mostly because their GDP doesn't quite meet the requirements for it. But it's still not. I'll say this: I would not go to Mexico right now.
Yeah.
I would feel very unsafe going there. Hearing some personal stories kind of changed my perception.
All right. Next one is one that I really don't have an answer to, so I think we're going to just pass this on to theologians. Hank Hill wanted to know, what does the Bible say about people who are too mentally ill to ask God for forgiveness or ask Jesus to save them? I have no answer.
I don't either. That's a good question that I don't have
that is
an answer
something
to.
I would pose to a theologian. I am not a theologian, so I really can't answer it. Just Shinobi wants to know, thinking of moving over to the States after college, what do you think is the best low on soy state to live in? Texas!
You're gonna say Texas, of course. Texas is a good start. A low on soy, in a good state to live in. North Carolina's kind of weird right now because we're semi-purple, but it depends on, you know, where in the state you live too. Basically, stay away from Asheville by all means, unless of course you want a soy place to live. South Carolina is pretty based. Do I want to say Tennessee? I'll say Tennessee. Tennessee is a pretty good place to live. Yeah, Kentucky's a pretty good place to live too. As long as you don't live in Owensboro. I had family that moved to Owensboro, and they did not stay for very long. They hated it. So, yeah. There you go.
All right, on to entertainment. Leonardo Juan wants to know thoughts on Microsoft and Nintendo commuting a treaty and adding Xbox games to the Switch. I still haven't seen confirmation of this yet.
Yeah,
is this a thing?
I have not seen confirmation of it either. I think it's still just a rumor at this point, because if it was real, we would probably know about it, because it would be fucking everywhere. But as far as, like, if that is happening, that'd be weird. I don't know how I'd feel about that, to be honest with you. Because in a way, I almost like console exclusives. I know it sounds really weird, but I kind of do. I kind of feel like if they get ported to another system, they get watered down as a result. And it kind of diminishes the experience. Unless, of course, from the baseline, you are making that content, or at least trying to keep it the same across the board. But I don't know. It's kind of weird to see, Sonic, Mario, and Master Chief at the Olympic Games.
Yeah. Eclectic wants to know, when Marvel Comics' lease expires, would Disney move the company closer to their studios in Burbank? Oh, I have no idea.
I don't know.
I would think it's a possibility, but I don't really know if it's really going to affect the business that much.
I don't know why they would do that, though.
Maybe it's cheaper. Who knows?
Maybe. I don't know. I just can't see a reason for it happening.
Yeah, I really can't testify to that one either. I really don't like having I don't know answers, but I just don't know.
Yeah.
All right, here's a Hatman one. So Octus Whisper wants to know thoughts on Magic the Gathering artist Therese Nielsen being harassed by leftists for daring to follow the quote-unquote wrong people and having different opinions.
All right. I told you that I had a rant for this. But first, because Micah has no idea what the fuck is going on with this, let me fill him in. So, Therese Nielsen is one of the most celebrated artists in Magic the Gathering. As in, people will go way out of their way to buy cards with her art on them. She has done like special promos and stuff that have skyrocketed in price only because her name is in the little artist page there and her art is on the card. Now, she is a Mormon, but she is a lesbian Mormon who is married. Lesbian married to another woman. She follows right-wingers and has liked tweets from right-wingers on Twitter. People in the Magic community found out about this, and they went after her because right now Wizards of the Coast, who makes Magic the Gathering, is pushing really hard for diversity and inclusion, which means catering a lot to the crowd of people that had no interest in Magic the Gathering in the first place. But people went after Therese Nielsen thinking, okay, well, you're not committed to diversity and whatnot. Oh, well, how can you be a part of the LGBT community and stand with people who literally want you erased or killed? How could you betray us like this almost? And it got so bad that an employee of Wizards of the Coast jumped in on it. Someone who actually writes flavor text for these cards jumped in on it. It is absolutely abhorrent. People are just simply not allowed to have their own personal politics. I mean, we saw rumblings of this with Jeremy Hambley or The Quartering when he got banned. That was largely ideological. He did not do jack shit. And he got banned because, right-winger and Magic that said some spicy things. This is even less of a reason to go after somebody, just because of people she follows and tweets that she likes. And this gives the Magic community the bad reputation that it has. You cannot say that you are for inclusion and diversity and then do this shit to somebody that you have celebrated for years and years. You do not get to suddenly pull a 180 on somebody because they follow people that you don't like. Because the personal politics that they largely, very largely, keep to themselves are not aligning with yours. That is bullshit. Absolute bullshit. The whole point of the game, and this was said back when the Quarterings ban happened, the whole point of the game is the gathering. People come together to play a game. They don't talk about politics. They don't talk about their personal opinions on whatever, who they like, who they don't like, whatever. They come to play a damn card game and have fun doing it. So this kind of gatekeeping is fucked. So fucked that earlier today, like literally right before we started recording this, I was out selling pretty much all of my Magic collection because at this point, I'm fucking done. I am fucking done. This shit just pisses me off to no end. The audacity of these people. The absolute audacity to do this shit. To send this level of vitriol to her over something as little as who she's following, what tweets she's liking. Fuck that. That kind of a community, I want no part in. Okay, I'm finished. I need some water. God.
I can definitely understand the sentiment. And this is generally an issue that I'm seeing with communities all over the place, is that they're getting infiltrated by these folks that really are just there to politicize things.
Mm-hmm.
And it is annoying, and it's not something that I personally want any part of. And I don't, I abhor the tactics and I abhor the behavior. And it really is just like attempting to create your own He-Man woman haters club that isn't really, that's called the not He-Man woman lovers club, even though we'll boot out women who don't have our politics. Like that's a very, very long title, but you get what I mean. Yeah, it's disgusting, and at the end of the day, it doesn't keep businesses going, it kills them.
Mm-hmm. I'm certainly hoping that Wizards of the Coast will call this shit out, but to be perfectly honest, I fully expect them at this point to stay silent on it and drop Therese Nielsen. Just quietly drop her out of there. I hate this. I hate it. I used to love playing Magic, and with all this nonsense that's happened the last couple of years, it makes me hate it. Not to mention just general bad business practices too, like removing the fucking MSRP from their products, especially after people started jacking up the prices in local game stores. The Magic community is not what it used to be. That's for damn sure.
Sounds like it. All right, let's move on. Swordsman 100 wants to know if you played Telltale's Walking Dead. Thoughts on Kenny? I only played the first one, and he's a character. I really don't have any opinion aside from that.
I have played, I think, one episode of it. I don't even remember if I finished it, to be honest. So I don't really have a strong opinion.
Let's see here. Creepy Nazgul wants to know, has either of us seen John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness?
It's on my list.
I don't think I have seen either. Surprisingly, being that I am a John Carpenter fan. I'm trying to remember which one this was.
I believe that's the one with Sam Neill. If you've seen Medicare's Internet Insanity videos, that's where they come from.
Yeah, I know it's part of the Apocalypse trilogy, which I've only seen 1/3 of, and that was The Thing. I still haven't seen Prince of Darkness either. So, Damien wants to know, he was in a short Pathfinder session, found the directions to the Hellgate they're trying to close, and learned Asmodeus is missing. On a scale of 1 to Akira, how fucked are they? I don't know. Who dat?
I would assume fucked. I would assume fucked.
Yeah, I don't know. John Whitesoul, for our final question, wants to know, past Overflow, we were asked about strong female role models that weren't SJW Mary Sue's. Why didn't we mention Katara, Suki, or Toph Beifong?
Oh, damn it. That's Avatar. Damn. Because I forgot. Because I fucking forgot. And I was thinking movies. I don't believe I was thinking over TV shows or anything, but no, that's good example. So, Katara Katara goes through an arc later on in the series where she has the opportunity to actually like take revenge for the death of her mother from the guy who actually killed her, and that is a really, really good episode. She's not quite a tomboy, but she is still feminine as well. But no, yeah, definitely a good character. Suki, absolutely, because she's one of those warrior women types. And then Toph Beifong is just I've talked about her before to you. She's the one, the earthbender that beat what's his name, Gaara in Death Battle.
Oh, right.
And who literally invented metal bending. Yeah, she is. If there is anyone in fiction who can be absolutely guaranteed to not give a fuck about anything ever, it's Toph Beifong. She does not give a single fuck. Not even a theoretical fuck. Toph is cool as shit.
That's a lot of fucks to not give.
Exactly.
Well, that was our last question.
All right.
I have no idea what I'm going to title this episode, so I'll think of it tomorrow. So by the time that you guys see this video, it will have a title.
Naturally, that's usually how things go. Unless, of course, it ends up with something like Untitled Overflow episode.
Well, don't give me ideas. But we do appreciate you folks giving us these questions. We both need to take off. I need to eat.
I need to eat, too.
So we are going to go do that, and then I'm going to go to sleep because I'm exhausted. But, trying to think. Nothing really final word-wise to say aside from don't forget this weekend we are returning with the podcast, provided nobody explodes. And, yeah. That's it. My name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Baldwin, live from the Hatmobile.
We'll see you guys next week. Deus Volt.
Deus Volt.